Great. Then I'll come to you early.
Jim, I like seeing you.
I know, right?
Okay. Where are we gonna go early?
Congratulations. Jim, you. Which one? I'm Lance. You're Lance. Okay, congrats. Thank you. Yep.
Has it sunk in?
Somebody outside said it's only happened. The last time it happened was in the 40s.
52.
52.
That's good. Do we know if Kenny's close? Who? Kenny McPeak is close. Is he close for Friday?
He said he was right behind him. He didn't even stop at the first interview.
We're going to give Kenny McPeak 1 minute, and if he is still lagging behind, we'll go ahead and get started. But we'll give Kenny 1 minute.
He was stopped at the paddock.
Oh, he was? Okay. All right, then. Let's get started because we're all here. Kentucky Derby 150 and 60% of its $5 million purse go to Mystik Dan, and we are very pleased to be joined by winning jockey Brian Hernandez. He is the first rider since 2009 to take both the Oaks and the Derby in the same weekend, and we're also pleased to be joined by Lance and Sherilyn Gassaway. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations to you. Brian, I want to start with you. Oaks and Derby in the same weekend. It's the sort of thing that you can't really even let yourself think about, but now that it's been accomplished, tell us how you're feeling.
It still hasn't sunk in. You know, it's unbelievable. We came into the weekend thinking we had good chances, really big chances, both Friday and Saturday, and then to just have the horses pull it off for us. And, you know, we really have to thank all the guys back at the barn that they put so much work into this to have these horses ready on days like today and yesterday. It's just, like I said, I don't know how long it's going to take to sink in, but it's definitely a surreal moment right now.
You got a trip that is also almost unimaginable. I mean, it's a 24-horse field, and it looked like it could have been any other race. Take us through the trip the entire way, if you would.
Yeah, you know, the last 20 years I've ridden here in Kentucky, and as a young kid out of Louisiana, I got the privilege of sitting in the same corner as Calvin Burrell. So I got to watch him ride those derbies all those years, and today with Mystik Dan being in the 3-hole, I watched a couple of his rides there between the Super Saver and Mind That Bird, and I was like, you know what, we're gonna just kind of roll the dice, and that's the nice thing about Kenny. He kind of entrusted me to do things like that. I said, we thought we had the right kind of horse to give him that kind of trip, so we found our spot under the wire the first time quickly, and then from there he was just so nice and comfortable the entire way. I was really proud of him that he was able to just kind of cruise along nicely. Then when I called on him to hit the spot that I needed to right before we straightened to kind of get a little separation on the deep closers, he did it. He jumped off quickly, and we were able to get that separation, and that made the difference as them not getting to him at the wire.
Amazing. Kenny, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Last time I saw you, I said, maybe we'll see you here tomorrow. And you said, count on it. And here you are.
For 3 weeks, I've felt like we were going to win both races. I can't tell you why. Both horses have been so easy to deal with. The team has done such a great job every day. There's been no drama. You know, Lance and Sherilyn have been wonderful people to have involved here. They came in and they decided to absorb it all and enjoy it. And I just believe in mojo. I believe in positive energy, and we had a lot of that. And we had two really, really good horses. And Brian did an amazing job today, and I'm just really honored and proud to be here. Brian
got the perfect trip, but I would love to hear in your words what you saw as the race unfolded.
Well, this is typical Brian. He knows what to do out there. I've always had a world of confidence in him. Rarely second guess anything he ever does. When something doesn't go right, he tells me about it before I even have to mention it, or he'll hop off and go, well, that didn't go good. And I said, no, it didn't, but, that happens. But today, the draw really, between the post position draw and the job that Brian did, gave us a huge opportunity because we saved ground. And, when you look at that photo finish, I think we needed all of it to hold off the two second and the third place horses.
You've probably been told by now, but you're the first trainer since Ben Jones in 1952 to sweep the Oaks and Derby on the same weekend. How does that feel? Tell us, what's your reaction to even absorbing that?
Wow. Wow. And I think what I'm most proud of is that, we didn't do it with Calumet farm horses. We've done it with what I'd call working class horses. This colt is a product of a very simple setup. A lovely little filly named Ma'am that we raced, and she was a hard trier, and she was classy, and fortunately they decided to keep her as a mare, and we talked about who to breed her to, and look what she produced. I mean, Golden Sense is not a big number stallion. Just putting all that together, I'm really proud of. Alan Shell foaled him at my farm in Lexington, and this isn't a huge $1 zillion operation. We didn't throw money at this. We thoughtfully went through it all, and it's amazing.
I'm sorry to look forward already, but this is the burning question. Yesterday you said you would contemplate the filly in the Preakness, but now you have the Derby winner. How is that going to shake out?
Well, somebody told me years ago, no fast moves, never make a decision till you absolutely positively have to. Torpedo Ann overnight, I feel like just watching her feed overnight. Of course, I said her yesterday afternoon, and that was before I got a little more information. She left a little grain last night. We'll let her recover from her race yesterday and take it from there. But she's not going to run the Preakness, so and we wouldn't want to supplement anyway. It didn't make any sense. But still, again, we've got all these decisions. Sometimes you call those things at the line of scrimmage as opposed to having to decide here and now.
Lance, congratulations to you and Sherilyn. Just tell us what you've been experiencing the last half hour since you hit the wire first in the Kentucky Derby.
Just pinching myself, just wondering if it's real, you just won the biggest horse race in America. I mean, who would ever dreamed of a little horse, Ma'am, a little filly we had, and, run her and didn't breed her to a $10,000 stud fee and win the Kentucky Derby, It's just really surreal.
Sherilyn, how's your experience been?
Well, it is surreal for sure, and we feel like we're just ordinary people, and we've got just an amazing horse that God gave us, and I feel like that this horse, Kenny calls him an old soul because he's so chill, and if you watched him walking over to the paddock, he was so chill. Nothing spooks this horse. I was grazing him earlier this week. Races are going on. Nothing bothers him. And I think he gets a lot of that from his mama. So we're just so grateful and so blessed.
Let's open it up to questions. Pat Forty, go ahead.
For Brian, it looked like you went through a fairly tight hole there when Track Phantom moved out a little. Can you just kind of talk about that sequence of the race?
Yeah, actually, at this point in the race, too, around the first turn, we had to hit a pretty tight spot, and Mystik Dan, he went through there with no problem. So once I went through that spot, I was like, okay, now I know he's going to go through tight spots, which we already kind of knew that coming back from the Southwest. And then just going on the backside, you know, the nice thing about really talented horses, they went 46-3 in front of us, but my horse, he was just cruising along so nicely and so comfortable. It never felt like we were going that quickly. And once we got to the second turn, I was just kind of, everybody outside of Track Phantom started kind of piling up, and I had a nice little pocket there. I was like, well, we'll just sit here and let them pile up. And then once Track Phantom just kind of moved off the rail just a half a step, we were able to kind of get through there. We might have took out a little bit of the inside fence, but that's okay. And once he cut the corner, he got a little separation on the closers that were forced to kind of go around the horses that were tiring, and he was able to hold them off. Right here. When we got to the 8th pole and he was still running, I was just kind of had my head down riding, and like 3 jumps before the wire, I didn't see him at all, and then right at the wire they surged late, and I was like, oh God, did we win the Kentucky Derby? And I was asking the outrider that, and he was like, we think you won, but they haven't said it officially yet. And it took about 2 minutes, and then finally when they said, yeah, you've just won the Kentucky Derby, I was like, oh wow, that's a long 2 minutes. Yes, that was the longest 2 minutes in sports, from the fastest 2 minutes to the longest by far.
Danny Brewer.
Hey, Kenny, talk about the game plan from the Southwest when he ran so big and you want to give him time off, and now you're looking like a genius. How about it, Kenny?
Well, Lance and I talked a bit about that. The backstory on that is that I ran this colt back too quick in November. He won really easy in his maiden race, and I wanted to stretch him out, and it was into the season, and I ran him back in an allowance race going a mile, and he coughed up a lung infection on me. And learned a little lesson there with him. I've always been one to, look, if I feel like a horse is doing good and we can win a race, let's give him a run. But that one backfired. So when we ran we were kind of a little bit behind the 8 ball because we had to get him over the lung infection. We brought him back in as, I believe, the Smarty Jones, and he got a little tired in that race because we were like one work shy, and we really didn't have him completely ready. And then we shuffled him out of Hot Springs, and we got him to New Orleans, and we were able to get him in good weather down there. We were able to set him down and really get him fit and ready. And then we came back up for the Southwest, and he ran huge that day. This is the race we were after, but they had to they shifted the schedule on us because of the weather. And when they shifted the schedule, we were going to have to come back in 3 weeks to run in the Rebel. And so Lance and I talked about it, and we both agreed it was, let's skip the Rebel. We're going to put all our eggs in the Arkansas Derby basket, and we got to get points that day. But we felt like if we did that, we'd have a really fresh horse for the Kentucky Derby. And so we actually wanted to win the Arkansas Derby and the Kentucky Derby, but, you can't get greedy, right? But anyway.
A second ago when Brian was talking, you were watching the replay. I don't know if that's the first time that you watched it, but you were sitting here saying, great ride, great ride. What did you see actually watching the replay? No.
Yeah, everything. Brian, I had no doubt that he was going to get him around there in perfect order. Like he's the difference in winning and losing today for sure.
Love it. Next question. Yes, sir.
This question is for Kenny. What you had mentioned before that you used Torpedo Anna and Mystik Dan as workmates. What did you kind of get out of that, and what went behind the decision to split them up after?
Well, they're both too fast for each other. When you're getting horses ready, it's kind of, probably a poor analogy, but like boxers, you don't want to overmatch them. You want to match them where they're equals. We had few horses in the barn that were equally as talented as either horse. So when they were getting ready this winter, and she had a setback that had cost her quite a bit of time, but when they were getting ready, how do we match them? And Greg Geyer and I do that every day. We sit down and, okay, who's a good match? You don't want to overmatch anybody. You want to make sure, you want every horse to think it wins every workout. And so we matched them a couple times. And, boy, she made him work. And I think she was the reason why he won the Southwest, because she really fitted him up. And there weren't any other horses in our barn that could do that. And then he got her fit, too. But then once they're fit, then you've just got to maintain. you don't want to push them too hard and over the edge. And so if I continue to work them against each other, and I actually learned that lesson with Take Charge Lady and Repent, a couple of horses that could have brought me to this same spot years back. But Repent and Take Charge Lady would work 57 and change if I let them. But anyway, I separated them, and then we made sure that they had workmates that would keep them interested without overdoing it.
Yes. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, this one's for Lance. Lance, I'm just curious, has it maybe been able to sink in yet that, this being the 1-year anniversary of your father's death and him getting into the sport and just the significance of what this would have meant to him to see
Oh,
this?
yeah. It's, to me, it's, this is for him, and Dad would have loved it. He loved the game. He and I bought horses together. We have another one now with Kenny, Gould's Gold. And Daddy, that's the last horse we bought together, and he named it. And, I think it's going to be a good horse, too. It's a Golden Sense colt. But, I'm just so happy. And for my family, I had all my family here, and it's just a special day.
Got one in the back?
Yeah, thank you. Congrats to you guys on all. Kenny, you famously called Torpedo Anna a grizzly. How would you describe Mystik Dan?
Oh, gosh, that's a tough one. He's a grizzly too, just a different type. Look, I was just kidding around when I had said that about her, but he's a bulldog more. I guess. I don't know how you come up with a good, yeah, but she. I felt that confident in her. With him, it's hard to feel more confident in a 20-horse field. So much can happen, and everything's got to go right, and it went right.
Kenny, you're from Lexington. You've won the Preakness. You've won the Belmont. What does it mean to you to win this race?
Yeah, look, everything. Having grown up around Keeneland all my life, I can remember my grandfather took me to the races at Keeneland when I was a boy. Learned how to read a pedigree. Used to go to the Keeneland Library and read about good horses, and went to UK and found the Ag Library. In the basement of the Ag Library, I read every blood horse and thoroughbred record ever printed when I was in college. I didn't do all that great in the other stuff, but I graduated though. Don't get that wrong. I graduated, but anyway, I was always interested in the breeding and how they were made, and it's just been an amazing journey.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Brian, 2 rail trips, 2 ground-saving trips. How were they similar? How were they different?
Well, with Torpedo Anna yesterday, we knew she was fast. So looking at the race, it looked like the only other real speed in the race was way on our outside. So I kind of thought, when Kenny told me that go ahead and let her run to the first turn, I said, well, I kind of thought that we'd be able to be on the lead. And she's such a naturally talented filly that she went fast, but she kind of ran them off their feet. And in Mystik Dan's case, a big thing that helped us was on Wednesday, Kenny decided that we were going to go ahead and pop him out the gate and just let him go like a 16th of a mile, 1/8 of a mile. And Mystik Dan helped us in that situation too, because most of the time when you try to do that with a horse out of the gate a few days before a race, they'll kind of overdo it. And the nice thing about him was he leaves there sharp, and then he listens to you. He comes right back to you. And just like today, he was able to break so sharp, in which we needed to. In a 20-horse field like that, you can't break a little flat-footed because you're going to get shuffled around. And when he broke as sharp as he did, and he was just so nice and comfortable his whole way around there on the rail, I was just smiling the whole time because, it's an amazing feeling when you have the horse under you and you know that they're gonna go forward. And like I said, when he turned for home and got the split, I was like, oh wow, there's no way this is gonna happen again. And he was able to hold him off, and he was that good today.
Byron and then Jenny.
Kenny, I was hoping you could reflect on what today and yesterday means in terms of you've now won all 3 Triple Crown races, and I would expect you're probably heading into the Hall of Fame. I'm curious to get your reaction to that kind of thing that might be coming your way.
Goosebumps. A lot of them were friends of mine. Alan Jerkins, Wayne Lucas. I could give you a long list of them. I've ridden a lot of them. Pat Day, an idol of mine. Go on and on. When you work around horsemen that I've worked around, and you you know, you idolize them or you emulate them and you pay attention. You know, Carl Nasker, you know, not only a great trainer, a wonderful human. You know, it's, you know, yeah, goosebumps.
Okay, I got to read
Go
this
ahead, Jenny.
text. These questions are for the Gassaways. It's from Raleigh Hoyt with the CBS affiliate in Little Rock. The first one is, how important was it to take the Oaklawn route to this win? And kind of related, what does this win say about the status of Arkansas racing on the biggest stage?
You want to take that? You want me to?
You go ahead.
So, you know, Arkansas, I think, you know, going through the path, the Rebel, I mean, you know, the Southwest Stakes, the Rebel, and the Arkansas Derby, I think it's proven over the last 5-7 years that, you know, we've had horses come through there and they've done well on the Derby trail. So I think this just solidifies the horse racing we have at Arkansas, the quality of it.
And we really wanted to be at our home track, and so it's very important to be there and to represent Arkansas there.
Hey,
What else?
Kenny.
Yeah, Tim.
Chad Brown said when he watched the race in real time, he thought he lost, and then when he watched it in slow motion, he thought maybe he got the bob. What were you thinking in regular full speed and in slow motion? Did you think you won the race?
I thought we won when we watched it the first time when they hit the wire, and then there was a monitor sitting right behind me, and somebody pointed it out. Oh, you can see it right here, and they slow-moed it to the wire, and it was pretty obvious he won. And so that was at that point I turned to my wife, who by the way deals with me, and you know, I'm gone a lot, and she puts up with me. Thank you. I love you.
Kenny, you've joked before about how you do some unconventional things. Can you just put into words how your operation or your mindset as a trainer is maybe different from what we see from other big operations?
You know, I guess because I don't really subscribe to, well, I don't put any emphasis into my win percentage. I don't think win percentage is important. I think what's right for the horse is more important. I think what's right for the clients is more important than my win percentage. You know, we tend to, I'm almost going to say schooling race the first time out, which usually hurts our percentage. And Brian's familiar with that process every time. We try to teach horses to take a little dirt in their face. This colt, he had some schooling in his first start. He could have won first time out if you wanted him to, but he wouldn't have learned anything. You know, so that kind of, for me, makes me maybe a little different. I will run a horse back if I think they're doing well, and I think that the timing's right and the situation's right. And I don't know. I mean, the fact that, like I said, it's not about me so much as the horses and the clients.
Sherilyn, if I have this right, you almost didn't think your husband was going to show up for your first date. Is that
Yes.
accurate?
That's
So I'm
true.
just wondering, as you think about you're sitting here and what kind of the path of kind of the wild path that a life takes, if you could just reflect on minute decisions that lead you to a Derby win, if you will.
It's pretty amazing, yes. My husband and I, well, we weren't married at the time, but we'd been dating, and he was late to pick me up because he was at the races. And so I wasn't going to go to dinner with him because I was just going to eat something at home, and I didn't know. My mom knew he was going to ask me to marry him that night, so I guess it worked out okay. But he's always loved the horses, and when I quit working full-time, he was like, hey, could we get a part of a horse? And so that's what it started about 15 years ago, about the same time that Lance and his dad got into the business too. And it's been a wild ride for sure, but this is the most amazing thing ever. And we're just beside ourselves.
And Lance, can you tell us a little bit more about your cousin Brent and the Hambies and how the group came together and how you ended up with Kenny as your trainer? Give us that background.
So, starting off, Brent, he's my first cousin. So, I mean, he's just family. Our dads are brothers. As for
Wait, where's
Kenny,
Brent?
Brent's over here.
Thank
So, so Kenny, we started our relationship, I don't know, 3 or 4 years after we were in the business. And I got with Kenny, and we started doing a few horses, and then it ended up with Ma'am. It was a private purchase. And even we even separated. You know, he got a little ornery a couple times. You know, and
No.
you know, but we always stayed friends. And every time I'd come to Kentucky, I would come out and see him and go to Magdalena. And when we decided to retire Ma'am, the way we got Ma'am, it was actually me and my brother and Daniel Hamby and my dad. And after we retired her, my dad and brother decided they wanted out. They didn't want to get into the. My dad said, "Hey, I don't want to get into the breeding. I'm too old. You know, I'd never see them run." Well, this would have been the first one right here. And my brother, he's got some allergies. You know, he can't enjoy going to the barn and being around them. They kind of breaks him out and everything else. So I think that's what keeps him away from them more than anything. He still bets them every weekend. Not a problem. But anyway, we started buying horses, and then when we decided to retire Ma'am, Banks and I, Daniel Hamby, decided that we needed another partner to go with it. So we got Brent and Sherilyn to join us, and that's how we formed that partnership.
Excellent. Brian, I understand that you were supposed to be on a 6 a.m. flight to New Orleans tomorrow for the Jazz Fest.
Yes, we were.
You think you're going to make that flight?
I think we're gonna have to reschedule now.
I want to go.
What will you all do to celebrate this evening?
Oh, boy.
All of you. I want to hear.
I have no idea yet.
Yeah.
I've never won the Derby before. So
You know, probably going to drink a lot of alcohol. I'm not going to lie.
I'm going to go back to the barn and hug all the staff.
Yeah.
And then the family. And last night we had a similar night. It was about the staff and family. And you know, my house is wide open if anybody wants to come over. It probably will get loud.
Yeah, what's the address?
No. Sherry, should I tell him no?
Tim.
Question for both Kenny and Brian. Kenny, this is your 10th Derby, I think, and Brian is the only jockey you've used more than once. Wonder if you could give us a little sense for the history of your relationship and why you've clicked, and if Brian would weigh in on the same question.
Well, you know, the older you get, I don't get enamored with all the, I guess you could say, big namers. I've ridden a lot of them. I rode Pat Day and when in his prime. Jerry Bailey rode my first Kentucky Derby horse, did a fantastic job. And Tejano Run, when he was second in 95, I would have thought, well, you know, it'd take me this long to finally knock it down. I thought I'd do it before today. But with Brian, you know, he's not here right now, but Frank Bernice is Brian's agent. And there's nothing complicated about either one of them. You know, it's all business, and there's no drama, and I like no drama, especially the older I get. I want to know that somebody's there, that we're, you know, you don't have to beg them to come, you know, you don't have to worry about them not showing up, you know, conflicts and things like that. But more than anything, I put Brian on horses on a daily basis, good horses and average horses. And he does a good job on every one of them. I've rarely come back and say, well, that was horrible. No, I don't have that. And then, you know, then I'll get outside the box and maybe I'll go to Saratoga and I'll ride some other riders and I'll go, boy, I miss Brian. I miss Brian. And because he doesn't make very many mistakes. And I don't want you to write that at all. I don't want anybody to know how good Brian is. But it's out, I guess the cat's out of the bag, isn't it?
He gives great feedback too. How much does that matter after the races when you're? Has that ever played in with this horse?
It's all calm conversation every time. You know, it's really simple conversations after every race. And many times I know I didn't put him on a good enough horse, and sometimes it's you know, he might say if something didn't go right, but rarely is there one of those, wow, that was just ridiculously bad. No, it never happens. Never happens. And that's what I want. I want continuity. I want to be able to know that he knows the horse and that the horse you know, responds well to him, and you know, look, the horses that are good enough, he gets there.
And Brian, that question was for you as well.
Yeah,
regarding Kenny.
I've just been fortunate. We've, like Kenny said, a big part of this goes back to my agent Frank. You know, we got together 12 years ago, and we were at the time we were both kind of struggling, just kind of making ends meet, and we made a pretty good career out of it. And for the last 7-8 years of riding for Kenny, it's like he said, it's been no drama. You know, we go out there for a maiden 30, or the Kentucky Derby, there's not many instructions given. It's more of just kind of he lets me go out there and ride my race, and I'm fortunate enough that the guys back at the barn, they have these horses so well prepared and so ready to go that we've kind of learned the program, with the first timers and the horses like that. We know that they don't need a win first time out. If they're really, really good, they'll win. They'll overcome just the little things that they'll get in trouble and stuff like that, and they'll be able to overcome it. But for the most part, it's all about developing the horse, which is something that I've kind of learned my whole career, just riding, and that makes it a lot more fun. It makes it enjoyable to go out there every morning and just watch these horses develop and be a part of watching them get better and better, and that's a testament to the job Kenny and all those guys do back at the barn.
You are loved.
Thank you, Brent.
Ed, go ahead.
I was hoping you could just talk, with this being a homebred, who did the breaking for you before Kenny, and when did you first get a whiff of, hey, this could be a good one?
You want me to take it? So Kenny and them broke the horse down in at his farm in Ocala down there, and they did a great job breaking the horse. And then we first time out we ran at Keeneland, and I had a horse back in 20 that ran at Keeneland first time and won Wells Bayou, and
Beat me.
beat him. I still got the $100 too in a frame. But, typically when you run first or second at Keeneland, you typically know you got a good horse first out. And like Kenny said, I know we've talked about it a lot on how he, prepares the horses, and he sacrifices his win percentages to run before the horse is probably ready, probably 75% ready. And then, instead of, he's told me before, he believes a race is better than 3 workouts. So, we knew we run second in a 6.5 furlong race first time out. We thought we had something pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Along those lines, can you talk about how the horse was named Mystik Dan?
So our partner, Daniel Hamby, this was the first one, so it was his turn to name the horse. So his dad had a tape company named Mystik, and his dad's name was Dan. So we come up with Mystik Dan.
There you go. Got one here from Ed.
Martin Reyes.
M-A-R.
No, what day? Because Robbie Alvarado got on. He got on a couple of horses during the week, but Brian actually got on Mystik Dan Thursday or Tuesday and Wednesday.
He said he's your regular exercise rider maybe not during the Derby, but
Well,
he was very
I
excited.
have about 20 of those.
Okay.
So, but you'll have to.
Kelly was his last name.
Oh yeah, okay, Albert Kelly. Yeah, from Jamaica, but Kelly doesn't gallop this horse. Martin Reyes typically gets on him, and Robbie's gotten on him. Robbie Alvarado, who's worked with us for, since after Swiss Skydiver when he retired. But Brian got on him, but Martin typically gets on the colt.
All right, we'll take a few more, and then we're going to let you all get over to the Derby Museum for your toast with the governor. But okay, Jenny's got one more, and then we'll go over here. Sorry, Fred.
Oh. Arkansas got Kentucky's coach. Now they have its biggest race. What do you think about that?
It looks like we're taking over to Kentucky. No, I mean, we're happy to have Coach Calipari there, and I think he's a great coach, and winning this race, it's what can I say? It's unbelievable.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Kenny, with having the benefit of a farm here in Kentucky and also in Florida, we came from Florida, do you think that gives you added benefits of training in both places, especially through the winter and the inclement weather?
Well, I don't know if I can make it a short answer. Look, everybody remembers I took a season off back in 2005, and I stepped back. My mother was terminally ill. During that period, I bought Magdalena Farm in Lexington, and I really wanted to kind of consolidate things and where we had a base of operations because we were too stretched out and we didn't have a base, and we needed some more structure. And so when I stepped back, you know, my mom subsequently passed away, and that was a real almost traumatic when you lose a parent. She was younger. But then I learned how to run Magdalena, and what I learned was it's a racing stable with just a lot of grass to cut. And then we went through a stage, and Sherry and I went to Ocala, and I had horses a little bit, I want to say we were a little extended in the sense that we had them in different spots, and I felt like if we could kind of put them in one pocket, it would be a lot better. The operation would run a lot better. So we looked at 8 farms in Ocala, and Ocala, we found 7 or 8 that were okay, but we found one Silverleaf Hills Training Center that was amazing, and through a series of events, actually Wayne Lucas built it, and thanks, Wayne. And so that's where the young horses start. And so the young horses are given their basic routines down there. I can go in and watch all my older horses that are getting a little break down there. I can watch the younger horses, and then I don't have to, you know, run around. At one point in time, I had horses at Gulfstream, Payson Park. I had horses at Barry Burklehammer's place. I had horses at with Dominic Brennan, Art Fisher, all, you know, it was a lot to deal with. But when I've consolidated them, it's made it better. And Lance touched on it. At one point in time, I kind of started going back to Gulfstream more, and so I wasn't racing in Arkansas. I wasn't mad at him, and he wasn't mad at me. I just wasn't on the circuit anymore. But when I've come back, it aligned things up a lot better. And you know, I've not been racing in South Florida for several years now, and I don't see myself. I see myself basing at fairgrounds and hot springs, and the logistics of moving horses from South Florida into Kentucky and then Louisiana into Arkansas and back and forth. I mean, I've got a great team of people that help me move those horses. I've got guys that run the trucks. I've got guys on each base. You know, without them, it doesn't happen. But the operation it really is flowing really well.
You all have been very generous with your time, but we're going to keep you here a couple more minutes. I think Brent had something he wanted to say.
Yeah.
Brent Gassaway, co-owner, and
For Ms. Gasawa,
Thank you, yes.
how did you get into racing?
It's all because of you. He took me to the barn one morning, and that was the end of it.
And how much did that hat cost?
That's enough questions.
Hey, you all know Brent kissed me today.
I'm sorry.
Kenny, the last question we always ask is, what time will you be at the barn tomorrow?
I don't know. It depends on my wife.
Give us a range. Give us a range so we know when to be there.
I don't know. We figured 7:30 was a good number. Somebody already said that out there, that 7:30 would be a good number.
Maybe bring them out for us?
Oh, yeah, for
take
sure.
a look at
For
'em?
sure.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I sure will.
Yes, and the owners will be there too. Brian probably won't be on a flight.
No, we'll be there at the barn in the morning.
Good, good.
We'll stop by and get the guys breakfast. And
Brian can't stop watching this replay.
No, it still hasn't sunk in. I'm watching it over and over again. It's still
So a little one, he's going to save the boots because they've got the paint from the rail on them. and Torpedo Anna and Mystik Dan ran in the same bridle.
What are you going to do with that?
I don't know. I was thinking auction it off for charity. What do you think it's worth?
I'm sure we can find out.
Wouldn't that be something? We might have to find a good charity to auction it off for. That's a pretty lucky bridle.
I would say so. Which charity will that be?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see. I got to get back there and make sure nobody swipes it.
Thank you to the Connections of Mystik Dan for joining us. Congratulations to you all.